Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with your hot take on what else? The rigged election. 52% of Republicans believe President Trump rightfully won the election. Yeah, no S. Um, what went on today? Following Gab trends, trying to block it down, but all right, let me see if I can go through it. So, in Michigan, they had Wayne County, and that is the county that includes Detroit. There were two Republicans and two Democrats on this. I guess you'd call it some kind of panel that's supposed to approve the election results and certify them. The Republicans refused to do so. They said no. The Democrats said yes. It looked like they were going to draw a line in the sand and make a stand for about 2 hours during the window of time when I made that video. Then they just got bombarded mercilessly on Twitter and apparently got death threats at their home. Their kids were threatened. So, I believe it was some of the other members of the government in Michigan, state government, I don't have the link, they were really blasted them. One guy may be in trouble for threatening the children of those people. I didn't hear the threat, so I'm not sure if it's hyperbolic or if it's true. But these Republicans should have held their ground and the number one reason is by backing off won't help them. They're still going to be pursued and harassed. They just won't be harassed. They'll be harassed slightly less. When these people threaten them to call them racist, and they called them racist, and threaten all sorts of, punitive damage in terms of getting a job or working in government, that all's going to happen. You can count on it. They haven't helped themselves at all by backing off. Now, what they did was they backed off and they agreed to, my understanding is they agreed to certify the rest of the state if they did an audit of Wayne County. So, the Trump team seems to be, and I assume these Republicans may have gotten their marching orders from the Trump team, I don't know. But they seem to be concentrating on Democratic districts with big populations. Could be a good strategy in that in those districts, when Republicans vote, it's almost pointless because they're so outnumbered. So it makes sense that they wouldn't even bother to count their votes, that they would just throw them aside. And if that's the case, that causes more trouble for the Dems because first off, Biden didn't win by much. They're doing the same exact thing in Wisconsin now. Trump is challenging the vote in Wisconsin in the two most populous counties, but not the rest of the state. So they're just going to audit those two counties. They're going to audit the county in Michigan, and we'll see where it goes. Now, Trump doesn't need that many votes to flip it. I believe it's in Georgia, in particular, it's now getting close to 10,000 to flip it. I think it was 20,000 in Wisconsin, and I'm not sure how much in Michigan. I think that was pretty close too. They were all pretty close. So I'm not sure. That may be the strategy, but who knows? Another thing that a lot of you are bringing up is the whole Skittle thing, right? Or Skittle or Seidel or whatever the hell it is. That may be important or it may be a distraction. No one's quite sure because we haven't heard anything from the Trump team on that raid, whether it happened or whether it's important. Maybe it's not important. Maybe it has nothing to do with the election. Who knows? But what seems to be more important, and this is coming from Sidney Powell after an interview at Newsmax, is that she has a witness to the Dominion had a name before Dominion. The the software. I think it was called, I want to say Smart Merrick or something like that. And they used that software to rig the Venezuelan election. And what they have, at least amongst many affidavits, is they have one of the Venezuelan army officers who stood there and helped rig the vote in Venezuela. So I'm assuming they can tie in that same software to the software that Dominion uses, and that would be a big revelation. Some are saying that could mean not only would they overturn results in the United States in 2020, but in the past and in other countries. So that the CIA was cut out of the raid in Frankfurt, Germany, allegedly, and that Trump's doing this big shakeup, indicates to me that Trump may be going for he may have, in my view, in the best case scenario, and I'm talking best case scenario, and I'm an optimist, so I see it that way. In the best case scenario, Trump's evidence is so devastating, he's not even worried about flipping the election. He's worried about catching all the people connected to it and getting all the evidence on them. So part of this over the next couple of weeks is a show to find out which Democrats and Republicans are connected to this really massive, I don't want to call it a conspiracy, but I guess that's a legal term, a conspiracy to rig the vote. I think it's more like what Tim Pool said. I forget what it's called. It's a term that means when a bunch of people do something, but they don't actually coordinate it, but it seems like they're coordinating. I think that may be the case here. You know, it could be that all the Democrats are just acting mostly independent of each other, with maybe a wink and a nod, but that's about it. And that the party kind of counts on that. They count on people. Hey, some people will just throw away one Trump vote, but other people will go way overboard and maybe get away with it or maybe not. And either way, we don't control them. We don't have any direct talk with them. They go to jail, and we just throw them under the bus and don't look back. So again, I urge you, if you were involved in any of this with the vote, if you were counting or at the poll place or whatever, or if you destroyed some votes or made up some votes or whatever you did, I urge you to come forward now, because this could be the play, right? I mean, this is optimistic, but I think it seems that way. You know, otherwise, I guess, I mean, the most negative way to argue this would be that Trump is winding everybody up, so they're so pissed off when he loses, they freak out and hit the streets. But I don't see Trump as that kind of guy. I don't see that as a victory for him. He doesn't want to leave the presidency with everybody rioting in the streets saying that they stole it from him, if in fact he lost. You know, he's having these conferences, he's making moves. You know, his legal team seems beyond confident. And the evidence they're talking about seems massive. Now, my worry is that it's too massive. It connects to too many people that will literally do anything to stop this. And they have the mechanisms in place to pull this judge or that judge or this person or that person. Now, to some extent, it looks like Trump has dismantled that a bit with some of the Pentagon shifts he's just recently made. Maybe that's the reason for them, so they can't pull that stuff. And if they do, the Trump's guy who's on top of that agency can, you know, immediately handle it and run down the hierarchy and say, hey, what the hell are you doing? I didn't order you to do that. Stop. Maybe. Again, optimistic view. So we'll see what happens. But so far, the big bombshell hasn't dropped from this. And, they say they got a ton of stuff. I mean, that's the way I see it is if they must have the software, they must have the software record somehow of this whole election from the vantage point of people watching it. So perhaps they watched this election in real time on the internet, right? I mean, they had months ahead of time, years, in fact, to prepare for this. And who knows when Trump got this information? Maybe they got this information relatively early because he looked at his slim victory and said, yeah, I thought I did better. I mean, why was it so tight? I would have thought I would have won by more. And then he starts drilling down into the various secrets that they have to tell him because he's the president. And lo and behold, he comes across Dominion, and Trump being Trump sort of pulls at that thread until they finally tell him, well, yeah, it looks like people have been rigging elections all over the world with this stuff. And Trump says the obvious, well, if they could rig it in other countries and we're using the same stuff here, it stands to reason they're rigging stuff here, right? And the guys look at him kind of sheepishly and go, well, they wouldn't do that here. And Trump turns to him and says, well, wouldn't the people in other countries say the exact same thing, you idiots? Go out there and check on it. And over months and months, they check on it, and they realize, yeah, there's impropriety here. They're flipping votes in this county or that county, and they come back to Trump with it, and his guys. Obviously, it's not just Trump. I'm being hyperbolic, but they say, yeah, we've got evidence, but it's like not enough. And then Trump says, well, let's use the 2020 election to get these guys, to get them all. Can we watch the election in real time? Can we know where we're being screwed here? And they say, yes, we can. So maybe Trump's guys watched the election in real time and saw the votes flip. And they know exactly where they flipped. Which is why Trump's only targeting certain counties. A theory. An optimistic theory. But I'm sure once I end this video, something else will happen because it's just never ending with this stuff. So, again, we're in the roller coaster, people. So hang on tight. Keep apprised. Get yourself to Gab Trends. And hopefully we're going to know the deal soon.